So Barry McGuigan has shared some interesting insights, particularly with regards to AJ versus Tyson Fury. So let's explore and give some perspective. I'm going to discuss 7 ideas. Idea number 1, according to Barry, AJ beats Fury every day of the week. It's the styles over stats claim. Barry insists that Joshua wins every time. Here's the question: why is Barry so confident? Now, AJ, when we break it down, what does AJ have? He has the power and he has the pedigree. He's a former 2-time heavyweight champion. He has wins over Vladimir Klitschko, who is a long-term champion. He has wins over Povetkin, who's a former champion, and wins over Joseph Parker. It's an extensive resume. And the other question, when we flip it on the other side of the coin, is that is Tyson Fury vulnerable at this stage of his career? Is he vulnerable? And considering that Tyson Fury, it's been alleged that at times Tyson Fury has led not the athlete lifestyle, how much does Tyson Fury have left? And does that impact the nature of the fight? What did the Makhmudov-Tyson Fury fight really tell us about Tyson Fury? And what did the Jake Paul fight tell us about AJ? What seems to be clear is that AJ has been more consistent with the athlete lifestyle. But according to Barry, AJ wins every time. And this leads into the second idea, which is the gym sparring ghost story. The gym sparring ghost story, which is the rumour that Joshua dropped and hurt Fury years ago at the GP High Performance Centre in Sheffield. What does this mean? Well, it means, in a big sense, that AJ and Tyson Fury, they have a past. And part of that past is that they sparred. And it's been stated that AJ was victorious in that sparring. In other words, that he dominated the sparring or was winning. If that premise is true, does that give AJ a psychological advantage? Does that give AJ added confidence for the matchup? And even if it does give him added confidence, does that matter, or will that matter in the actual fight? Now, the third idea is the one chin theory. Barry's philosophy is that we all got one chin. You can absorb shots to a certain degree, then suddenly it's gone and it never comes back. Now, it's important to recognize that when or if Anthony Joshua fights Tyson Fury has power, but he's not a power puncher. In contrast, Deontay Wilder has power, but is a power puncher. I would argue Daniel Dubois is also a power puncher. He has that Sonny Liston type power. And you can't improve your defense. Maybe that premise is true, but surely you can improve you can't improve your chin. Surely that premise is true, but surely you can improve your defense. And what is defense? Well, defense can be your feet, it can be your hands, and your head movement. These are your tools. And additionally to that, you might not be specifically able to improve the chin, but that doesn't mean that you can't improve your punch resilience or your punch durability, taking punch to the body. So if you improve your defense, if you improve your psychology, improve your confidence, if you improve your punch resistance, then you become a more difficult fighter to hurt and knock out. So I understand Barry's philosophy here, but I'm not sure if Barry's philosophy tells the whole picture. And then the fourth idea is Prenga. And Barry sees this as the dangerous, safe fight. 20 goes from 20. It sounds exciting. It sounds like a really strong opposition. But here is perhaps the objective truth. It's low-level opposition. So the paradox, the risky-looking warm-up, is it just, we can't call it a harmless fight, but the risk isn't reflected properly in the record. Here's a question: why is a puncher a safe pick against what some would consider a questionable chin? Well, maybe, again, there's a difference between being good at punching or having power and being a power puncher. I suspect that Prenga is not a power puncher at elite level. However, he could prove us wrong. And let's remember, if Prenga does spring up an upset, then this is horrible matchmaking, absolutely horrible matchmaking. this leads to the other question is, does he have a protected record? And in boxing, some people will insist that boxing has this problem of these protected records where people are undefeated, but their talent and their ability doesn't reflect the record. But then on the flip side of the coin, is Prenga being underestimated? Is the lack of opposition, does that make it hard to judge his level? Perhaps Prenga is a fighter that fights to the level of his opposition. Perhaps he has other gears, other levels. My assumption would be that if Prenga was suspected to be elite, would he be selected for the Anthony Joshua fight? Probably not. And then the fifth idea is that, again, Barrio weighs in that, Mariusz Vach is a human punch bag and has the journeyman psychology. And the quote is, the first one to know it, last one to admit it. When does a fighter switch flip to a journeyman? Here's a question though. Could Mariusz Vach put in a great performance? Now the evidence of his past performances is not there. So when we look at his latest fights, we don't see the evidence that he could put in a performance. But the perspective of Vach will be important here. The psychology of Vach. Will he come to win, or will he simply come to survive? And what do we expect from Tyson Fury in this fight? What do we expect from a Tyson Fury-Vach fight? Well, we expect rounds because there's some durability. We expect Tyson Fury to improve his timing, and we expect some resistance, but it will be minimal resistance. On paper, the risk is low, but it's always important to remember that low risk is still a risk. In boxing, anything can happen. A punch to the temple can put you on the floor. If Vach comes with intentions of victory, and if he comes with good preparation, he has a chance, even if that chance is small. And then the sixth idea is with regards to Usyk, the classy exit. Usyk, of course, vacating the belts and sailing into the sunset, and perhaps having a crossover mega fight. John Jones himself has ruled out Wilder. I believe that talk is still into negotiations. And then there's this potential of Usyk's final fight being taken place under Zuffa. And of course, Zuffa, linking their name to Usyk, elevates their platform because Usyk is a massive name with credibility and branding. And I think most of us agree that Usyk walking away as undisputed, or undisputed in the minds of the people, is the smartest legacy move in boxing. As so many boxers, they continue past their prime, and they continue until they get beaten not once, but twice, but 3 times, etc., etc. So it's a good time for Usyk to depart. In my opinion, that departure should have came in the Daniel Dubois rematch at Wembley, I believe, in front of 90,000 people, with such a spectacular performance. That would have been the time to walk away. But the next best time to walk away would be now. And then the seventh idea again links to Usyk. And it's that question, where does Usyk rank all time? One of the statements made here is that one of the people on the panel, they put Usyk second, just behind Ali, because he's beaten everyone in his era twice, referring to the AJ wins, the Tyson Fury wins, the Daniel Dubois wins, etc. There are some questions to ask here. Was it a weak error? For example, how would Usyk do in the 90s? How would Usyk do in the 1970s? Could Usyk beat Riddick Bowe? Could Usyk beat Lennox Lewis? Could Usyk beat Mike Tyson? Could Usyk beat Evander Holyfield? Of course, it's all speculation, and we can never qualify these opinions. What we can say is that Usyk is a legend. He has an amazing CV, an amazing portfolio, and he's done so much for boxing. Think of this. Brian McGuigan's comments open the door to bigger questions about Joshua, Fury, Usyk, and the heavyweight division. Now, styles, confidence, damaged chins, protected records, and faded motivation all shape these fights. But boxing rarely gives us certainty. Sparring stories, statistics, and reputations can guide predictions. Yet once the bell rings, every theory must survive reality on the biggest stage possible. So that's the end of the video. Now I'm trying to build a digital boxing community, and that means I'm interested in your thoughts, I'm interested in your perspectives, and I'm interested in your observations. Now, if you want to support the channel, press like, hype, and subscribe. And if you want to watch more content like this, then simply click here or click here. As always, thanks for your time. It is much appreciated.